Hi everyone, Soul Super 17 here. Let me as like usual. I basically own the picture, made the thumbnail, and this is an unpaid video. So, here's the thing. Well, um, I was making the video last night and I messed up because I kind of fell asleep during the video. Don't know why, I just was really tired. I was basically taking care of the fire, and I basically just kind of was like, yay! Basically, moment. So, yeah, I fell asleep and I basically effed over. And during basically my tiredness, I did make some levels, basically adding some things to it. Basically, so here's the thing: I had 5,620, and I basically put that all into basically the soul, the souls into basically my soul system stats. I made my vitality and vigor was 10. I made that 20. My strength and motivity was 10. I made that 30. Then basically I made my skill. My skill 23. So I didn't basically do all that calculations basically with the leveling with the levels of the system of the Dark Souls. So give me a minute, let me just see. Okay, I find out the level, I'll say that later. And I also did raise up my danmachi stuff and added 2 new basically skills / magic. And I got my basically doggy with me. Got my doggy Sissy. So yeah. Anyways, I'll say basically the level later and everything else. So yeah. I'll basically say them later. And I think I may have did my basically, I already put 5 things of basically in luck already, so I'm not going to add it, because I think I already did that. But anyways, let's get into this. So, this is basically what if I was in Manchi, part 4. So, last time we left off is, well, I found a new place in the, basically, dungeon. Basically, it was due to the fact someone left something there, made a little area for themselves. A safe house, you could say, and a basically storage area. Now, because of this, well, basically, I got 2 new daggers, and I found a shield. So, but that shield's gonna basically turn into something else. Well, the look is gonna change, and I'm basically making a reference to a video game. I'm just gonna tell you. So, yeah, reasons why. I think why not? I mean, also, I don't know any good shield looks from Dark Souls or, series. I mean, none of them really caught my eye. It only mattered based on the on how good a defense it would give me. So, yeah. Anyways. So, basically just normal daggers, but they are basically kind of high rare material was used for them. So, yeah. We'll find out about that later. We're basically, also helped out Belle from killing the big giant, basically gorilla. Well, it might be basically from the manga it was different. So, albino gorilla, or ape, whatever, monkey. Yeah, I hear, for some reason someone else tells me something else. So, anyways, continuing on, what I'm saying, I helped him kill it. He basically, was glad. Hestia basically also fainted. And, well, basically after she woke up, basically, Belle basically found out by Hephaestus, made the knife for him. And that's where we left it off after I said something to him. Now then, there is going to be something, in this that is going to be very interesting. Basically, because we're starting off where we're going to Hephaestus' basically familia. So, Belle was like, so, what's with the basically wrapped up shield and I mean, why do you have your, well, daggers with you? Which, basically, I look at him and like, well, I don't know what they are, and they're pretty sharp. I mean, they may be a little bit dull, but sharp nevertheless. I was able to basically cut through, basically, that monster yesterday. Which Belle will remember what I did and just nod. Which Hestia's like, still though, that shield looks somewhat familiar, but I don't know from where. Which I'm like, huh. Well, Hephaestus will be able to, tell us. Does she know we're coming? Which basically Hestia would nod, and basically she would say, yeah, I had to come here anyways. It's, a deal that I made with her. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you had to pay her back from basically the church that basically she gave to you for a home, plus, well, something else. Which, she's like, how did you? And I'm like, how do I know about that? Yeah, I, may have heard some rumors. That's all. Me lying through my teeth. But Hestia knows a lie. She's not gonna ask. For right now. Anyways, so, after that, well, we have basically Belle just basically look at me and blinking and be like, but do you think Goddess Hephaestus will actually become your personal, basically, blacksmith? Which I'm just shrugging, like, hey, she may basically do it if I basically tell her I'm gonna learn how to basically forge weapons. Which I have my jacket on me because it also has basically the sword, basically grip or handle, and the guard, plus then the broken sword that I just sharpened the edge but still it's rusted. So I take the book out from basically the jacket I was saying, and basically I just show it, basically to Belle, like, but seriously though, Loki really came up with a good spell. The fact is, you don't really have to know basically about blacksmithing to even actually be able to conjure up a forge. But it doesn't really help that technically for the way more advanced things from this spell book, you're going to have to basically, well, how should I say, know a lot more about forging than basically anything to be a master, and also conjure up helpers for you to basically do everything. You can basically make the whole entire tools, the whole entire forge in the fire, but it's just you just need to know a whole lot. Which basically Hephaestus like, yeah, Loki has a tendency to make spells a little bit more complicated than usual. Which I just nod to that. Anyways, though, she may basically take an interest in it then. So, basically, Hephaestus will like, yeah, and it seems that basically he may actually get that skill, forge. How funny. Summon it anywhere you want. I'm like, yep. Right in the dungeon, just imagine me forging a weapon while monsters are just probably trying to come at me. Which Belle's like, I'd rather not think of that. I just shrug at it. I'm like, suit yourself. So, after a walking, a little bit of chatting, basically we would get to the, Familia, Hephaestus's. And then, well, when we get there, I'm basically like, well, this is what I expected from basically Hephaestus's basically Familia. A lot of forgers, well, people that basically have to forge, blacksmiths. Which basically Belle would just nod. As we would see basically Hephaestus talking to someone from the Familia, as in when she basically notices us, basically she, says, she doesn't, we can't hear anything, but she basically leaves that person after basically him just nodding and going. In which when she arrives to us, she goes like, welcome. Now, please follow me to my office. Which we would, all the three of us would nod, and, we would leave. Now then, basically, when we get there and such, Hephaestus will lock the door and basically go to her desk and sit down in her chair. She goes, so, which one of you is, the newer member basically Hestia's Familia? Which I would come forward and be like, I am. My name is Sol Kurosaki. It's nice to meet you. Which she would just nod her head to me, and, she would then look at basically Belle, and she would say, "Then you must be Belle Cronell," which he goes, "Yes, goddess Hestia," and not Hestia, I mean Hephaestus, which basically just them just blinking, and I'm like, dude, nerves. Which he's like, uh, sorry, kind of nervous. Which basically she just blinks and like, why is that? Which he would just kind of say, well, I'm you could say I kind of basically always wanted to basically own, basically one of basically a person from the Hephaestus Familia's weapons, but to find out, basically as he would show basically his blade, that basically you made this yourself. I'm basically didn't know what to basically say to you. I wanted to come here, thank you and everything, but I didn't know how to say it, and then I just lost my train of thought because you're right in front of me, and because of I didn't know if I should be polite or just say thank you and bow, and which he's about to go on until basically I just basically go up to him and basically pat him on the back, be like, Belle, calm down. But she just looks at me and just be like, but she's a goddess. I'm like, so? Just calm down, man. Which basically he's like, fine, you're right. Which Hephaestus will look at basically Hestia, and she would just kind of basically see Hestia just having basically kind of like a happy, amused face. Which then she'll basically look back at Belle and me. She goes, anyways, you're welcome. I would have never created a knife such as that, but due to basically the dungeon's recent events, as Belle would not, because Hestia would have told him this morning about the dungeon, and basically kind of hinted at it beforehand. So he would be like, I understand, but still, thank you. I really did basically want to like own basically Hephaestus's weapon. I mean, I knew they were expensive all. It was like one of my basically dreams to have one. Which I just roll my eyes, be like, any weapon would be good basically in anyone's hands. But only basically someone that basically is a true master with their weapon can basically do the impossible things. Well, that and also basically you become one with it. To the point where something that should be impossible will become only possible to you. Which she will look at me with a questioning eyebrow. I'm like, a lot of things I know, a lot of things I think are basically could be possible, that are always basically denied by other people saying it's impossible. It's one of my things I like to do. Which she's like, now then though, I have a few questions about you, Soul Kurosaki. Which I'm like, alright. She goes, alright, so, I want to know basically the type of person you are. Which I'm like, let me guess, to determine basically if you would actually, well, even basically make me a weapon personally or something. She'll have a smile on her face. She goes like, how do you know? He goes, which I will basically point out, saying, one, because I wanted you to become my personal blacksmith. And two, I was going to actually ask you basically to teach me how to forge here and there from time to time. Which she's just blinking at that. She goes, huh? Wait, you wanted to learn how to basically do a blacksmithing? Which I'm like, forging, blacksmithing. To be fair, what I basically see it as, I have a forge, basically skill due to, Loki. Basically, I just basically bring out the book and show her, as then she basically would read it and such, and her eyes would widen, saying, Loki made this spell when she was drunk, wasn't she? Which I just shrugged, but like, hey, she made it because she was inspired by you. So, as I take back the book after, she handed it to me and put it back in my jacket. Which, by the way, I'm wearing basically the boots that I found in the second floor safe room, dungeon, second floor. The safe room I found the boots, the black pants, I'm wearing those. So, she would just nod and be like this to me. Well, as what I read, you can conjure up basically a forge, or aka basically, becoming a blacksmith anywhere you want. And we're like, yep. So, I want to learn basically how to basically make my own weapons from you. So that way, if I'm in the dungeon and I need basically another weapon, and because one of my weapons broke or quick repair, And I could just basically do it right then and then. Which she was just not understanding. And basically, I would just then basically look at her and answer to her question about basically what I'm like. Well, what she wants to know about me. I'm like, I don't trust you enough basically to tell you anything about myself. But I think a little bit, well, some details about me would be good. She would nod, basically like, one, I'm a person basically who always wanted to have an adventure or fun and never had it. Two, technically when I was a kid I wanted to be a hero. But every little kid wanted to be a superhero or something. Which Belle cannot understanding. Which just has to, Hephaestus would just have a chuckle at that. Three, I have way too much anger issues. I hold it in too much, and keep to myself. 4, or 5, yeah, too many things about me to list. There are just some things basically I don't really care for, so, yeah. Oh, and basically I'm also basically kind of lazy, and like to be immature, like to be annoying and bug people at times. But mostly I just don't really care for much. Which then she just blinks and was like, anything else? It's like, oh yeah, I hate the god or basically goddess who basically summoned me here. They're dead when I see them. Or she just blinks and like, you're gonna kill a god. I'm like, yes, that god or goddess. I don't care who it is. She goes, but what happens if the gods betray you? Me, just like thinking, I'm like, to be fair, if the gods betray me, then they just have a Kratos situation. They're like, what? Oh, Kratos. Basically demi-human, well, not demi-human, demigod, basically. That was basically the son of Zeus. And, well, the gods betrayed Kratos way too many times. He became the god of war by killing Ares. And then basically Zeus betrayed him, tried to kill him. And then, well, that didn't turn out well because he came back to life 3 times. 4, actually, though. But hey, he destroyed all the gods of Olympus. Well, not all, but a few. Couple, maybe 10, 20 of them. I didn't count how many bosses they were. Or how many gods he killed, but he did kill Kronos and Zeus. Which basically just Hestia, Belle, and basically Hephaestus just blank. They're like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah. But to be fair, I basically only say this. The one part of my system, from one of the basically powers, or from a world, I guess, I just look at Hestia and goes, she knows. I gave her the letter, which I'm like, oh, let me guess. The god or goddess were like, hey, you don't have enough familia members, so here's a guy that's gonna randomly come here. You have to find him as such. And Hestia goes like, well, yes and no. I didn't know where you were, and I actually found you randomly. I'm like, okay. So basically, she goes, I don't know what basically Dark Souls is, or basically Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Code Vein, basically Elden Ring, or Lies of P. I don't know nothing about them, as Hephaestus says. But, can you at least tell me what's the one that basically allows you to kill gods? Which, I'm like, well, they may be gods or godlike figures, but technically speaking, in the end you do kill a god. Become the Elden Lord. Which, basically she just sighs and like, so Elden Ring? We're like, yes. She goes, okay. Anyways, enough of that little headache of mine now. Would you basically ever try to harm anyone in the city or of Odoron? Which I'm like, no. But technically, if they're technically speaking, it's a yes and no, actually. She goes, what do you mean by no? Well, let's say this. Someone's being used as bait, like, basically, willingly, then I basically, and the people abandoned them, I'm not gonna basically judge them because the person who basically willingly did it, did it. But if they basically literally make them do it, forcing them to, and they literally did not care or have no, basically guilt towards it, and then if they're in the dungeon and I hear them laughing or something or see what they're going to do, well, I don't consider them humans or people. So I may just let my temper get the better of me. She just kind of blinks and be like, wow, you're being very truthful. I thought you would lie. Which I'm like, why would I lie to basically the goddess of the forge? I mean, and amongst other things, but other titles you have that I can't really remember at the moment. But mostly that. I'm trying to get you on my side and basically to help me. So, see, I don't see the point of lying. She will nod to that and be like, alright, so honesty. But you would lie if needed, right? Which I'm like, oh yeah. Very much. She just kind of basically like, not even gonna hesitate to even basically deny it. I'm like, what's the point? She just sighs. And basically just just shaking her head. Bella's like, wow. So she then basically looks at me, saying, so though, I basically, would ask one more question, which I'm like, shoot, what's with the bandage? Which I'm like, looking at my left, hand, because I obviously have a long sleeve shirt. I'm like, oh, that? Roll up my sleeve all the way, basically, seeing basically the bandage was wrapped up, basically to there, which then I basically unravel as she starts seeing metal. And then when I'm done with it, basically she sees I just have a metal arm. I'm like, it's a prosthetic arm. Kind of neat, don't you think? She just goes over and starts looking at it like, wow. I don't know basically what materials came from, but it's it looks pretty strong. Which Hestia says, it is. It's very durable. So, basically, Hephaestus just basically, looking at me, curiously, and then basically she sees what's on my back. She goes, oh, is that something you wanted to ask me about? He was like, oh yeah, almost forgot. So basically I bring out my 2 daggers, and then basically the shield. I'm like, can you tell me anything about this? So she will take the daggers and such. She goes, well, the daggers are kind of dull, but they still are sharp, and they seem to be made of a rare monster core plus a dragon fang. And wow. It's pretty neat. Pretty good blade here. Basically, a strong material basically only found in the dungeon. Which I'm like, you're not gonna say the materials? No. Which I'm like, wow. So, basically, he was saying, I only basically knew one person who had these, but they quit being basically an adventurer a few months afterwards. Which I'm like, wait, what? Uh-huh. And the shield? Basically, I would give it, she'll basically unravel it, and basically she goes, as I thought. It was part of the Zeus Familia, which basically Hestia would just be in shock, and including Bell, me just be like, wow, that was lucky. So, can you tell me about anything about the shield? She goes, it's a normal shield, but as there's no switch. Basically, she'll basically put her arm basically in the 2 loops and kind of flex her arm a bit, as in it just basically compressed or a compound basically into basically the middle part of the shield. And she goes, it's a compound shield. Basically, you can basically carry it around with you basically like it's nothing along your arm, but when you need it, basically you just have to flex basically your arm a bit, and it basically will trigger something, a switch to basically release basically the shield to become fully, there. Which I'm like, cool. me thinking about it, hey, can you basically put that on my arm? Based on pointing to my left one. She goes, huh? Yeah, can you put it on there? She goes, you're asking me to infuse it into your arm. I'm like, yeah. She decides, like, first off, I'm going to need to basically look at your arm. And the only way I could do that, basically, I have my other workshop, but I don't have it because it's basically up in heaven. But before I basically sealed my power, I did make a way where I can technically bring us to it, but not bring us to heaven, in a way. Which basically Bella doesn't get. I'm like, oh, so it's like its own little pocket dimension that you basically summon your workshop to. Or it's an exact replica of this, in the pocket dimension. Which she's like, wow, you actually understood that? I'm like, meh, kind of seen it before. She goes, okay, but I have to basically ask for permission. Which basically, she will basically say, ask for permission from your Uranus. So, as they say, she'll wait and she'll hear basically, you can basically release your godly power. Basically, Hephaestus. Which I would shock her. So, she was smart. She goes, well, you're in luck. Which I'm like, cool. Oh, yeah, can you also reforge this? As I take out basically the handle and the sword, basically, she was like, huh? What happened to it? It was like, well, that was the only weapon I had when I was basically in the Forest of Nightmares. Which basically she goes, you're that guy. I heard a rumor basically from the tavern, basically a guy, someone came into town and survived the Forest of Nightmares. Huh. Didn't know it would be you. I'm like, meh, a lot of surprises. So how many times did you die? Which Hestia is like, basically she's just basically doesn't want to say nothing while Belle's like, actually, I'm actually curious about that too. Which I'm like, I just say it casually because honestly there's no point of hiding it. 4 times. 1 to basically a group of goblins. 2 to basically a pack of wolves. 1 to a third from basically an owl. And 1 from an orc. Well, 4 from an orc. Crushed me. Mauled basically by the wolves, shot in the head, finishing me off was basically the goblin's basically crossbow. And the owl just got me in the head with its talons. Which basically that would just make them blink, and Hephaestus like, you just told us so casually. I'm like, there was no point in hiding it. So, yeah. I mean, I have the mark here, basically I have a mark here. My left arm had a mark basically of my re-encounter basically with the wolves. Along with basically here, my shoulder, basically one wolf I thought I killed but didn't really stay dead. I do have a bite mark from basically when they, bite my leg and such, and I fell because of it. She was like, alright, well, let's basically get this process started. So, she would basically pull a book, basically making her basically forge come, basically not come, but I mean, the bookshelf basically sliding, basically revealing her basically forge. But then when she goes to a wall, she releases her godly energy. I basically put her hand on it, as then a hand mark appears, and all of a sudden, it starts changing to basically a way more bigger workshop. Where she just basically points to a seat where I need to sit in, and tell me to basically have my arm sticking out. Basically, to the side, which I would just do so. So after a few minutes of using, magic, basically to take a closer look with her eye, and basically using some devices to help her basically get a better look at it, she's just saying, huh, interesting. It seems like your arm basically is made of metals from basically a dungeon combined all into one. And what happened to your arm? Which I just like, basically Minotaur had some black ooze on it. And, after that, basically, all of a sudden, basically, the metals that are turned to dust, suddenly started basically making something with each other. Fusing together, made it this. And she was, yeah, I think that black ooze basically, destroyed your flesh and basically, muscle. Which I'm like, huh? What do you mean? She goes, well, the fact is that your bone basically has gears in it, and, well, acting like it's not even basically even there, and your bone structure doesn't even seem to be broken due to the, well, metal rods going into it. So I'm like, so wait, so technically I have a basically skeleton arm that I'm able to move, and basically I have metal around it. She goes, yep, seems like it. Me making the joke, what am I, a necromancer? Which basically Hephaestus says immediately, no. I'm like, it was supposed to be a joke, but alright. She goes, well anyways, but the metal seems to be very unique to you specifically. Like, you can do anything with this metal as long as it's basically, well, doesn't basically destroy it or something. Which I'm like, probably could do different attachments with it, or make them. Which she'll basically just blink and be like, actually, that does sound like it would work. So, basically, she'll ask now, so what do you want the shield to look like? Or do you want it to be like a regular shield? Which, I'm like, give me a minute of thinking. So, I basically am just thinking about it, and I'm like, I always thought the design of basically the Hyrulean shield was pretty good. Why not? So I'm like, can you make it basically that, if I have some paper and pencil, I could basically draw out the design of it. She goes, hold up. Give me a minute. And she basically leaves. A few minutes later, she comes back with paper and pencil and some leather. Which, I'm like, thanks for the paper and pencil. She goes, yep, don't worry about it. Now, just think of what you want and basically just start drawing. He was like, okay, but I'm not a good drawer. She was like, I said, don't worry about it. So, in a sense, she will wait for me to finish the drawing, which I'm like, I actually got it right. How? She goes, that was because of basically what I made. I made this a long time ago. This helps me basically come up with basically what I think would be a good thing, basically see it on paper, and then basically decide if I'm going to make it or not. So, yeah. Alright then, let me just basically, actually even got the colors too. Alright, I can basically make the shield basically look like this. Just give me a couple of minutes, 30 minutes tops. And basically, Hephaestus goes to work. Belle's like, I can't believe Goddess Hephaestus is actually doing this for him. Which has to be like, I know. I thought it'd be more of a hassle. So, anyways, after that's done, the shield is basically made. She goes, now then, bite onto this. I'm like, that's what the leather was for. She goes, it's gonna hurt a lot. I basically had to heat up the metal along with basically the shield and basically attach it, and kind of because the metals will since it'll adapt to it, it'll basically become fused together with it, which it will hurt a lot. Which I'm like, got it. So as I'm binding down the leather, she basically would place basically the shield, in a compressed form on my arm, as then basically I would feel basically the heat from it, as it would start hurting me a bit, and then then in that area I would feel basically more heat. So as I would bite down harder on the leather, trying not to scream out of pain, I would basically also hear the clanging of metal basically hitting metal, knowing that she is basically not forging, but merging basically the metals together. Give me a minute, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I'm in my room, and my dad just got home, so I was not going to be staying down there. Anyways, so, as I was saying, basically, I'm trying not to scream. This will last for a good 10 minutes. As after basically it's done, she will basically cool off the metal and such, and she will like, there, it's done. How do you feel? Me, basically grabbing the basically leather, and taking it out of my basically, just basically stop biting into it. I'm like, hurts a lot. Hurts a lot. She goes, well, he survived. Now, let me get done with this, basically, weapon of yours. As she would take, basically, the katana, and we'll do that real quick. As me, basically, I'm walking over, basically, to Hestia and Belle. Hestia has a worried look at me like, are you okay? Like, I'm just in pain. That's all. Belle's like, you're taking it pretty well. It's like, I'm holding it in. I can do that for a while. Which, that just kind of makes Hestia wants to say something. Which, basically, Festus says, this is gonna take me a while, you know? Like, how much do I owe you? She goes, I'll find out find out basically after our little talk. Which I'm like, sighing, like, fine. So, in a sense, it would take at least a good, maybe, like, 45 minutes. Just to get the blade done. And reattach it, just reattach and such. Because, how I look at it, basically, she's in her workshop, her basically, goddess, basically, workshop, so she basically can get this done really quickly. So in a sense, yeah, whole new basic katana with an actual sheath. She goes, here you go. Which I'm like, when I grab it, basically I unsheath the blade and such. I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, looks really good. I mean, it is brand new, technically. So basically, I sheath the sword. She goes, yep. Now then, though, as she basically turns the workshop back to normal and such, and then basically she still had her basically godly power activated. She goes, I want to see basically your levels. Which I'm like, oh, alright. Hestia, which Hestia just sighs like, yes, to get her trust, you're gonna have to. Which I just sigh, be like, sure, also we can do my levels. Which she just nods. So, I'll just grab a chair, sit down as basically, leaning forward as Hestia would bring up basically the danmachi system, in which my strength went up by 500, went up to 580. My basically endurance went up to 620, while my dexterity went up to 630, and my agility went up to 660, and my magic went up to 620. And then she asks, do you want to level up basically any of your, soul system stats? I'm like, yeah. Can you make vitality 20? And then basically strength 30 and skill basically 25. She'll basically do that and such, but then she'll say, you can only make it up to 23 skill, which I'm just sighing, but like, alright, that's fine. She's like, okay. So she would do that and such. And she's like, so basically she goes, alright, now you're level 20, you're level 69. Which I'm like, how many souls do I have left? She goes, there's only 77. Which I'm like, and I can't. She goes, nope. The next way to level up is basically 2,000. Which I'm like, wow, they're going up slower now. Which she goes, yeah, because you have way too much right there, so I'm like, true. So basically, though, has to be like, also, basically, for the system that basically I given you, yep, basically from the book, you have basically the skill called Forge, in which then all of a sudden, basically, Hephaestus will place her hand underneath the forge, and basically all of a sudden, basically these words will pop up, armory, which basically has to be like, Hephaestus, as basically she goes, there, done, as then she deactivates her, godly aura, stealing it back away, and then basically Hestia would stop, leveling me up and such, as she basically made that light bulb go down, and basically then just grab the paper. And do, the thing where it will show me my stats and my skills. When I have a look, I would see basically something called Armory, which I'm just looking at Hephaestus. She goes, that's to help you basically carry all your weapons and gear with you. And basically it's also help you carry basically any materials you find basically in the dungeon. After all, I can't basically allow my apprentice slash well, pupil basically not have this, along with basically having basically my well a client of mine basically go down there and die so easily. Which I just blink. I'm like, you're gonna to. She goes, uh-huh. Yep. I'm basically gonna make your weapons for you. But I can't make them no godly weapons. Got it? Which I'm just nodding. I'm like, it doesn't matter. That'll be great. Thanks. She goes, no problem. Now then, I also can basically make you armor. Is there any type of armor you want? I'm like, yeah, I would basically like something, but I have to give me a minute to think about it. All right? She will nod. Basically, then I would look at Belle, basically, and Hestia. But then, before I can even say anything, just Hestia be like, now then, since that's out of the way, she basically pushed me and Belle out. She goes, I have to talk to Hephaestus. Go. Have fun. Go basically go into the dungeon. Which, basically, I'm just like, okay. Which Belle's like, we should go back home and get our gear, right? I'm just nodding. So yes, after that, everything that will happen with Hephaestus is just Hestia will have to get the outfit and such. So, me and Belle will go back to the Familia, grab our gear, and, well, the fact is, Belle would basically... Hold up. Okay, as I said, basically, we got our stuff, and we basically are going to, basically, the, well, Adventurer Guild. Basically, me! Gonna see what floor I can go on. Which, I only think it'll be probably level 9, not 10 yet. In which, basically, the whole entire situation with Belle and Edna, what happened? You know, basically, him, basically getting gear and such. You know, that whole entire, basically, interaction. Me, just like, have fun with you two. Which she's like, she would just look at me and be like, well, you need to get some gear too. Which I'm like, yeah, I'm going to when I have basically the Valis for it. She's like, huh? What do you mean? He goes, well, I'm actually gonna basically try to get enough money just to basically buy just a piece of gear. For right now, I'm basically good. So, which level can I go on to? Well, I mean, not level. Which floor can I go on to? She'll just say level 9. I'm like, alright, you two have fun. So, yeah. So, basically, that what happened. I basically go down and basically slay some monsters. I would basically go back to basically on the second floor of the dungeon in the storage. Slash, basically, safe house. And basically look around there, basically see what they have in stock, well, have basically around there. Which I'm like, I don't know how any of these stuff is good, and all. Huh? Hey, look, a ring. Which basically I, grab it and such. I'm like, man, I really do. I don't know why this is here, but I'll put it basically in my. Wait a minute. So, I'm just kind of like trying to figure out how this armory works since I never got a chance to ask Hephaestus about it. So, I would just say, armory? In such then, basically, the armor, basically a door will basically appear right in front of me, which is on a wall I'm looking at, and then it'll just open. Which I'm like, whoa. That's cool. But I thought it'd be more like basically like a window screen would pop up. As basically, I think the door will close when I'm just thinking about it, how it will look, and then it just pops up. Which I'm like, wow, okay, so there's in different sections, different weapon types, armor types, and rings? Huh. That comes in handy. So I put down the ring and such, and there's an unknown item description on it, which I'm like, gotta get maybe Hephaestus to look at this. Now then, let's go basically get some more Valis and get to floor 9, kill some more ants, and test out my new, basically, katana. See how strong it is. So yeah, while Bell's having his little thing, and then basically Hestia and him interact, then him basically in Welf's basically armor set. I basically won't get my status up, but I did basically clear out each floor that I could at the moment. Because every time when I go up, to basically, to back to the, back up to the surface, there will be more monsters respawning. So I did get back at least maybe roughly. Kind of that basically I'm just gonna go follow the path for basically the stairs after I basically clear out a whole entire floor. I would just go to the stairs and then basically, go to the 9th floor and then come back up and just go straight for the stairs, only killing a few monsters on the way. I only probably would gain only 2,999. So plus 77. Give me a minute. I have 3,076 souls, which I'm like, oh, that's good. Because I'm back on the surface and such. Which I'm just stretching. I'm like, I should really try going to the 10th floor, but for now, I got no monster drops. Thought basically to raise my luck up to 15 will basically drop some basically random fangs or basically claws. Heck, even basically, I don't know, another type of monster crystal core. Whatever. So I would get my Valis, which I probably would have like a good probably 10,000 Valis. Maybe probably like 15,000 Valis all saved up. Because I've been trying to help out basically getting Hestia's debt down with Hephaestus. And trying to also help spruce up the place of the church. So yeah. So in a sense though, basically, I do think everything from there would technically go. I won't basically get my my status up yet because I'm gonna try to keep it a secret for right now. But the only thing that I basically would think then is a difference is this: I would basically return to basically the Hephaestus Familia. Now, I'm basically gonna do a quick basically look up something real quick because I wanted it to basically be this whole entire armor thing I'm trying to go for. It's a whole different thing from basically what you would see normally from basically the games that would, Lies of P, Code Vein, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Demon Souls 2. I tell you when, the Souls-like games, basically. Like, give me a minute. I didn't realize, I forgot about Demon Souls, even though I have it. Yeah, I think I'll add it eventually in. Or just add some weapons there. So, yeah. Probably just weapons. Anyways. So, what I mean by it is, like, this whole entire combination set. So, give me a minute, everyone. Okay, so basically, I would ask her to make me, basically, not the Taurus armor set, but the chest piece. So, yeah, that's what I would ask her for. So, in a sense, basically, when I get to Hephaestus' basically area, I would ask, hey, Hephaestus, basically her familiar, I mean. She's like, Soul, what is it? Hey, can you, wait, do you have your paper pencil? The one that would let me draw? She goes, I figure I should keep that around, so here. And here's the paper, which I'm like, cool. So, I remember how a Taurus would look like, in full detail, including his sword. So, in a sense, I would, basically draw it all out, and basically even give off the colors. She'll basically would see at it, like, you want to make the armor set and basically also the weapon? I'm like, no. Just the chest piece. Here. She basically was looking at it and she goes, I can simply do that. I'm usually gonna need some measurements. I'm like, alright. Oh, can you try give it, I don't want people, well, can you make it like black or something? Well, make the silver black. Make basically the blue, well not black, but keep it that way. Also, can you ask, like, can you add in like a face mask into it? She's like, looking at me, huh? It's like, I don't want people to know what I look like. She goes, alright. So in a sense, though, she would, well, get some measuring and basically starts measuring around. She goes, so, do you want basically one of your arms basically unprotected, or do you want basically something, well, like one glove basically, to basically also be around your arm? So at least get that part of your arm basically protected. Which I'm just looking at her, I'm like, I mean, that could work. How much do I owe you? She goes, well, roughly around maybe 26 to 2,700 Valis. Maybe even more. Which I'm like, fine, I'll go into the dungeon and get some more. She goes, I thought you've been basically getting a lot since I heard you've been going up to like level 7 to maybe 9? 9. Yeah, I know, but it's just, I've been basically trying to help out basically with Hestia's debt that she owes you. Which he was like, oh, yeah, that would make some sense. Well, here's then some armor I can give you, because after she will be done writing down everything, she will basically well, go out the door and I'll wait for a bit, and then she'll come back with just basically some light leather gear, which I'm like, thanks. Just no problem. So, it'll be putting it on and such, and basically, she would say, I'm still kind of surprised you still have that basically shoulder guard, which I'm like, gonna need it. And basically my arm guard, which she would nod and such. Like, so, how's the katana and the daggers doing? Like, well, you didn't sharpen the, basically the daggers and such, but the katana works great. Here's, oh yeah, here. Basically, I'm like, she holds her hand, I'm like, just giving them to her. She basically, probably going, out her basically shop and sharpen them real quick and then give it back to me. And then I would just hand her some basically, probably like 1,000 Valis. She basically would just nod. So I'm like, anyways, I'll get back with the money and such. She was like, alright then, don't be a stranger. And I'll get the armor basically, well, worked out for you. Like, thanks. Basically she's, well, walking, she basically, not walking, she basically will sit down. Me walking away. So, she goes, now then, how am I going to make this? I think I can do it. So yeah, after basically she goes up with that idea, she will basically go into the storage and basically look for the basic materials where she can make it from. She will want to make it strong. So, yeah. Anyways. Me on my way out, basically, I'll be walking by a store and such, and I would, see a hat. A hat that would remind me of something. Somewhere basically from the Bloodborne game. And I'm like, wait a minute. Isn't the box cover basically of the hunter that has the hat? Yeah, it is. I would go over, basically pick it up, basically, walk over to basically the counter, like, how much is this? She goes, she or he basically would say basically, 500 Valis, which I basically would just give them it. Like, thanks, I'll just put it on and such and start, walking away. So, yeah. So, basically, though, like I basically said, I would get that much from, not like I said, I would be going to the dungeon. So now, here's the thing. The fact is, it would basically take days for Belle and basically Lily to do their thing. For basically Lily to be saved by Belle. So days pass, and I do get the Taurus armor, which by this time, I basically did say, after basically me going into the dungeon, I had that, but I did say a couple days later, and then now, you guys know, I basically just been getting 300 and basically 3,999. So let's times that basically by 2 for like the 2 days and such, and then basically another 2 days. So for 4 days in total, I have basically just been grinding, basically getting money and such. Still have not basically reached a level yet. So yeah. So anyways, give me a minute. Let me do my basic calculations. Okay, so basically I have 12,304. Now, will I get my status up? Yes. But I'm going to do it after basically the event with Lily and Belle, which I've basically been trying to get to. So, after basically on my way back, basically to the, I would say basically what happens is on basically the 7th floor, or the 7th to 8th floor. If I remember correctly, the 7th floor is when the basically ants are, so that's where it happens. So in a sense, I basically, when I'm getting up to that floor, I would basically see someone basically, but hear some commotion, and then basically in the, in this basically, in the hallway where I see basically Lily there, along with basically 4 people. One of them is saying, "What the hell's going on?" As then we'll talk about the ants basically that are wounded and such, and basically how we call it the hive. Which I'm just thinking, wait a minute. Oh crap. This is, as basically in this one, the sense of monsters are stronger. Yeah, Belle's gonna have a harder time to get to Lily, so he won't be there in time. Me though, basically thinking to myself, I can't let her die, but am I ready to take a human life? Come on, I can't want to be doing that, right? As basically though, the guy that basically will run away saying, "Screw this!" He runs away and such, as me basically will put on the mask since I got my Taurus armor, which did take, I just recently got it and such, and it fits perfectly and looks, works good. So I put on the mask and such, as the guy runs, and I'm like, just sigh, be like, I'll deal with my emotions later. Right now, I can't think of them as humans. I can only think of them as, monsters. Beasts. I mean, after all, in Bloodborne, you do kill people that turn into monsters themselves. As then basically I get like a hollow look in my eye, basically. Trying to shut off my emotions completely. As when the guy basically runs past me, he would see that look and basically he would basically shiver. He's like, what the heck was that? It's like I saw death right in front of me. So, yeah, I'm just walking forward, basically having one of my daggers out, and then basically having my katana out. Just walking forward towards them. As basically, while the guy's talking, Lily basically would only see what's in front of her. She will basically see one guy, basically the brown, hair with no care in his eyes. And then when she's about to look, all of a sudden they hear basically like a gah! They just see basically a sword sticking out of basically his chest. He's looking down and he goes like, "What?" As when the curly hair one will basically look, he just basically sees a blade right in his basically right in his face, and just basically pierces his head. As then he basically falls down basically as I kick him off basically my blade, my dagger basically. As I even then kick off the other one basically with from my katana. As what happens basically is this. The guy will quickly turn around holding Lily, as he just sees basically my dead expression in my eyes. Which he's like, "What the? Who are you?" Which I don't say nothing. He goes like, "Say something." What? Are you here basically for her? Here, take her. He just throws Lily to me and such, which I immediately already swinged off basically the blood basically from my dagger, putting it away and catching Lily, which she's basically shocked by it. The guy's like, "Wait, you're not going to?" As I just say basically, these words. "A beast like you doesn't deserve to live." Which I would say probably in like an emotionless tone, or at least trying to. As he goes like, "Wait," as then all of a sudden he just gets its head chopped off, basically with the katana. And then such, it goes flying basically up in the air and just lands basically downwards. And such, basically, Lily would be shocked and scared as I would put, her down, basically swinging off the blood and sheathing the katana. Basically looking at basically what the guy was holding and going to it, picking it up. Wait, yeah. And basically then giving her basically it. She's like, you're not going to hurt me?" And I just nod no. And then all of a sudden basically the ants are coming. Well, the ants are there, but they're coming forward. As basically Belle basically, sees basically me and basically Lily. He notices me because he remembers the hat and the jacket with basically the shoulder guard, arm guard and such. And I do technically have my metal arm, showing. Basically, I kind of would rip up the sleeve just so it, basically all the way up to basically my bicep, so I still have basically my grinding, basically on wheel on my arm, so I can basically get my weapons to sharp again, and basically I can use my grappling hook. And it basically in that instant he basically stops because he's know what I'm about to do, and she was we're surrounded by, as in all of a sudden I just basically my whole entire right hand goes on fire as I just swing it around, as all of a sudden all basically the ants are basically on fire. As Lily's eyes are wide and she's a little bit scared. As basically it only takes a few minutes and including the bodies besides their basically gear or loot that they had on them. I would say at least their valise was basically destroyed. Along with Lily's key was not destroyed. So in a sense, after basically that, basically the flames basically just dim out because I wanted them to. She would see basically the key that she, for her secret stash was safe. She will go over and pick it up, and she will look like all basically the monster cores are still there, but the bodies are completely gone. As basically Belle says, "Lily!" He comes running. Basically, I look at Belle and just walking away. She basically, sees Belle basically look of worry and basically a little bit, hurt more, which she doesn't understand why. But she have to notice basically usually the monsters were never this strong, so, but still, she didn't know how strong they are, which basically Belle would do, say everything about it, and she would start crying and such. Well, I'm gone. Me, though, when I basically get up to basically up to the surface, basically I would immediately run over basically to, the bathroom nearby and such, and, puke out my guts. And such. Basically, I'm like, I can't believe I did that. I mean, it's different in games. Ugh, God, my stomach hurts like hell. So, I would basically, we get up, put back on the mask, and just start walking. Basically, in which, when I do arrive, basically at the hunter, not the hunter, at the guild, basically, I'll basically just hand in basically my, basically, all basically the monster cores, obviously I got, monster crystals I got, and basically I would get basically a good amount of money, basically, Edna would basically be looking at me, knowing it's me because of, I have the hat on, basically I would be having, but the mask is covering my face, which not many people would even know me very well. But yeah, the metal arm now is basically getting people's attention, which she would basically, I would basically have my arm wrapped in my normal look, or basically I would have basically just came in with basically, well, basically with it wrapped so no one will be staring. But if I'm having this like not my arm unwrapped, yeah, something must have happened. And so basically, she would come over to me while I'm leaving. She goes, "Hunter, is everything all right?" Which I'll just look at her and just she would see basically a look that I'm like, basically, I just basically want to be alone for right now. In which I would just nod slowly and just walk away. In which basically her friend would come over and be like, Edna, is everything all right with you? And was that basically one of your? She goes, yes. Um, he wants to keep his identity a secret from people, but he looked like he wasn't well. I would ask if everything was alright, and then tell him if he's not well, he should take a break, but something must have happened. She doesn't know what, but yeah. But when Bella comes back, basically injured and such, she asks what happened, saying about his supporter, Lily, basically, and then Lily kind of just says nothing. But basically, the Guildmaster would come, hearing about basically how someone came and saved Lily. He would actually ask who, which then Belle would be reluctantly, but would say who, well, not say who it was, but basically the way I look. And then basically, well, the Guildmaster would basically bring Lily basically to the side along with Edna. Well, not Edna, I mean, just bring her over to the side and, well, he swore he would not basically do anything. He would not fight me, he would basically not do anything of the sort. So, I think I remember I told him basically if I basically need to, I would basically kill people in the dungeon. Because they are just beasts to me at that moment. So, she would basically say it, what I did, and because of what they were about to do, in which, basically, he would just nod and be like, do not worry, he's not in trouble. He was saving you, and those adventurers were, well, not so good ones. So do not worry, you'll be fine. But she's like, but why did he not, do anything? He just left. Which, he would say, Hunter is a unique person. He does not basically want, what normal adventurers want. He wants to get stronger for his own reasons like everyone else. He doesn't need thanks for doing something what he thinks is right. But those were his very first people he has ever killed. Which Lily's eyes widened. She was, but he acted so... He destroyed his feelings in those moments, suppressing them. Right now, as we speak, he may be a little bit more disgusted with himself and basically tired. Which, basically, meanwhile, with me, I just getting back to basically the, familia. Basically, taking off all my gear and put on basically something normal. And just then laying basically on, the couch, looking up at the ceiling and basically trying very hard not to basically remember what I did. So, Belle would basically, would talk to Lily and basically learn more, I think, what would happen. And trying not to basically tell her about me in the Familia. But Hestia would get back, though. She would ask, hey, Soul, what's wrong? And I'm like, I saved somebody. She goes, that's great! It's good that you helped someone, but why do you look so down? And then I would say, I had to kill 3 people. Which her eyes wide, she goes, Can you tell me about it? Which I'm just sighing like, Belle supporter, Lily. She's trying to, I guess, leave or rob people or something, but they were going to basically use her for basically bait for basically ants all around them. Luckily for me, basically the ants were not in the tunnel I was in. But I saw them, they were about to throw her. And the ants were going to basically kill her. Which basically she asked which familiar were they from. So basically I always said I was saw a moon and basically a goblet, which technically the Soma familia, which she basically cannot believe they actually would be backstab their own people. So in a sense she goes, I'm not gonna say what you did was right or wrong, but you saved her. Even though basically she tricked Belle in whatever situation I believe she tricked him, you did the right thing. So don't beat yourself up for it, which I'm like, but I killed 3 people. I said I would have to, but I didn't think it would be this soon. It's only been like, what, a couple of weeks since I've been here? Maybe? Which she nods. It was, don't, I'm not gonna say you shouldn't blame yourself, but maybe don't go and basically straight in killing someone right away. I just sigh, like, I'll try not to, but I already know they wouldn't have listened. All they cared for was basically money and basically saying Lily was only surviving because of them. Which she basically would kind of basically be quiet, like, and I think a few tears would go down, but still, I took someone's life. Some living creature basically that had a soul. I ended them. And then I also basically killed the ants that are all around us with my flames, along with basically destroying the bodies. Which basically has to be even more quiet, like, I'm no better than them, that's for sure. Which basically has to do with just saying you're not. Don't ever say that about yourself, soul. What you did was, like I said, I couldn't say if it was right or wrong. But do you think it was right? Which I do not solely. And she was saying, then don't think of it basically it was wrong. Even though you know it in your heart it was right. She basically would grab my hand, basically the one that's basically not bandaged because I, just switch into normal clothing. Basically, I just look at her. She could see basically my eyes are a little bit dimmed, but not by much. She goes, so don't blame yourself for what you had to do. Okay? Which I sigh, I would just nod again. I'm like, I know, but like I said, I didn't know I was going to have to do it this quickly. I thought I had time to prepare myself more. Which basically she would just, stay quiet. And then basically I would remember something from an anime, which I would just chuckle. She goes, huh? What's so funny? He goes, I guess at this moment I remember something from an anime I used to watch. She goes, huh? What was it called? By the way, I don't own the name and none of the characters. The ones who own basically the anime and the name, basically it's theirs. I own nothing about it. But anyways, like Naruto. And it's basically the one who I remember saying something about. Well, the first kill is always the hardest to deal with. It's Kakashi Hatake. It's kind of amusing, at least I'm thinking about it right now. Which basically, she would just kind of chuckle at that, be like, so, are you gonna worry about it? He goes, no, maybe. I'm just gonna try to deal with it. Hopefully I won't get no nightmares from it. Which she stays quiet and says, hopefully you won't. Now, I think basically you don't want to eat since your stomach may be upset, right? Which I would nod. Like, do you have any tea I can have? She would basically nod and basically would make some and, would then give it to me. Which I'm like, thanks. I would basically sit up, basically start drinking it. As Belle comes down and be like, Lady Hestia, soul, I'm back. Well, Goddess Hestia, soul, I'm back. Which I'm like, hey Belle, just drinking tea. He basically would, have basically some light food for me, and basically some regular food for basically Hestia and, him. So I'm just blinking, because he would basically give me the food. I told basically Mamma Mia about it, and still asking about you. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't been going to the tavern lately because I've been just grinding. Basically my stats and everything, along with basically I've been skipping lunch. Only eating breakfast there. She goes, yep, Steele's been making you lunch. And she's been wondering if everything's alright. He goes, I've just been busy trying to get some cash. Basically then Belle was just saying, well, she made you this anyways. This was basically yesterday's lunch and today's. It's some light food. Kind of surprising for some reason. So yeah. So basically I'm just taking it, basically looking at it, I'm like basically me basically thinking in my head. Basically, spoiler alert for anyone doesn't basically know this, but I think everyone does. But to be fair, you can actually look up, the character, is it wrong, well, from the anime, is it wrong, basically, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Freya. It shows basically her and Seal. So, yeah. Which I'm like, I gotta thank Freya, or, well, Seal for this. It's always good. Basically, meanwhile, basically, when Freya basically gets into her, well, I would say she would get to the tower and such, and there's a report of basically about me today, and then she will read it. Immediately, basically, well, even when she basically read basically what I was doing and such, she was saying the usual until basically she would get to the part about me stopping what was happening to the supporter of Belle Cronell, and basically what the person was gonna do and such when she heard about the answer. She was kind of basically shocked by this, but then what's shocking is that what I did, basically saving basically Lily before she was basically used as bait, and then killing all the ants and then basically destroying the bodies around me, and basically what happened after I got out of basically the dungeon. In which I think she would just be shocked and not tear up, but just like cover her mouth, be like, because she doesn't know how I'm feeling at all. Which she basically, didn't know about it, because it would just happen probably not that long ago. Because I took my time going back up to basically the dungeon. From the dungeon. So, in this case, though, since I've basically been only going down, not clearing out much, since I have enough souls, I won't basically, I won't have killed that many, so I want to say I got around maybe only basically probably like, 700 souls. Yeah, so now I have 12,904 souls. In which the first, like, he actually killed them. He didn't go mad, so, but the way he must feel, why soul just, there's gonna be more problems, but basically I think she'll be looking at basically where basically the, Hestia familiar is, and, since basically she would probably be able to see, if she basically uses some of her godly power and such, she would be able to, have some way of looking. I would say she had like some type of little basic magical item and such. She would basically go over to it and basically use some of her basically, for instance, godly power to see through, basically the ripple. So it's like basically like water there, and then see through the ripple and such. As then it would just show me, Belle, and Hestia basically eating, as basically she would see my soul. Basically, it is basically still basically a dark soul, basically, black. And basically now it's a small fire looking like there. But she's like, huh? She'll be like, but then she kind of sees like little souls going around, coming off of it. She goes, are those the souls basically within him that he gets from killing the monsters? She kind of was thinking about this. But then, basically, I'm kind of just looking up. And she would think I'd be noticing. But then she just sees I have a far off look, and she notices the dim look in my, the little bit of dim that I have in my eyes. And then I would just sigh and basically just open up again, and then basically they're gone. They're basically having my normal eyes, basically no dim, not lifeless yet. She goes, but for some reason, I think she basically would, kind of when she saw that dimness, she basically stiffened and couldn't breathe until it came back. She was like, okay. She basically stops and, kind of walks to her seat and just drinks some wine and be like, what's wrong with me at the moment? So, she doesn't know what's going on. She felt something that she really didn't think she would ever feel. So, yeah. And that's where I'm going to leave it off, everyone. I hope you guys enjoy this part. I'm going to try to basically get this uploaded maybe tonight. I do have some things I'm going to probably be doing later, basically in the week. So, yeah. Anyways, hope you guys have a nice day, night, wherever you are. Bye, everyone. But I'm going to be making some parts. I'm just going to be trying to basically watch during the night danmachi and basically probably read basically it, basically more of it. So, yeah. So, anyways, bye.